All right, welcome back to video 2 of this GED RLA series. In this one, we're going to be looking at some drop-down questions that are in my past exam here. So let's just jump in directly to number 6 here. It says, the following letter contains several numbered blanks, each marked select. Beneath each one is a set of choices. Indicate the choice from each set that is correct and belongs in the blank. Note, on the real GED test, the choices will appear as a drop-down menu. Okay, so if you haven't done the GED test before, this will give you a good idea of what these questions are all about. Okay, so just get my red pen there. All right, so we can see there's a letter starts out here. It says, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, I want to welcome you to Heart Insurance. We operate our company as a family and think of our clients as extended family as well. Then you have a select button here. So on the GED test, on the RLA, when you get these types of questions, it'll usually be a letter or an email. Sometimes it's from, like here it's an insurance company to their customers. It could be anything like this at all. Usually it's some kind of formal letter or formal email that you're dealing with. So it's a good idea just to get a look at the letter itself and just become familiar with what it is and what the general idea of this letter is. So we know this is from an insurance company to its customers, okay? So that gives us just an idea of what we're dealing with here. So we're not just totally blind going into the questions. So we can see here, we have a full stop, and then we have here a capital letter, and the select box is in between those two things, okay? So this must be a complete sentence, as there's a full stop and a capital letter. So let's see what the choices are here. First choice, we are extremely pleased you has chosen us as your insurance company for your automobiles. Well, clearly we can see here, it has to be you have chosen us. So you has does not work here. So this one is wrong. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. We are extremely pleased you have chosen us as your insurance company for your automobiles. Well, that one sounds pretty good to me. Would you agree with that? I think you would. But let's just see what the other ones are, just in case there's some silly mistake that we've made. You know, on the big day of the exam, sometimes with the pressure, you can misread things. So always go through all 4, even if you think you've got the correct one earlier in the box here. We are extremely pleased you have had chosen us. Okay, so here we can see to chosen. Okay, so when you have the word to in the middle of the sentence, this is known as the infinitive. Okay, and it would have to be to choose. To choose. You couldn't have to chosen. This would be the past participle, and we would have to have the verb 1 here, to choose. So this is incorrect. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, you can't have to chosen in the middle of a sentence. No. Last one, we're extremely pleased you will have chosen us as your insurance company. Well, it can't be will have chosen us, because will indicates the future. And this letter is all about the insurance company saying thank you to their customers for choosing them. So will would indicate they haven't chosen them yet. It's going to happen at some point in the future. So it cannot be this one either. So it has to be this one, number 2. We're extremely pleased you have chosen us as your insurance company for your automobiles. Okay, so that is the correct answer. Have a look at the next one. It says Heart Insurance is really a mom and pop something. Okay, and we can see there's a capital letter here. So we need the ending to this sentence. Heart Insurance is really a mom and pop something. Okay, so here, let's look at the options we have. A mom and pop business. Okay, so mom and pop business, comma, my wife and I started it 15 years ago. Okay, so if we just look back at the first part of the sentence, you can see Heart Insurance is the subject of this sentence here. Is here is the verb. Okay, so Heart Insurance is really a mom and pop business. Okay, now business, then comma, my wife. So my wife would be a subject as well. Okay, and I would be a subject. Here, the subject of the sentence. And here you can see there's a comma. So that means Heart Insurance is really a mom and pop business. That's a complete sentence with a subject and a verb. So if you wanted to use a comma here, you would need a connecting word as well, such as and, but, or so, or something like that. Okay, a coordinating conjunction, as they're called. So by having a comma here, and then by having my wife and I started it 15 years ago, this is also a complete sentence here. My wife and I started it 15 years ago. Subject, subject, and a verb here, started. So you cannot have two complete sentences stuck together with a comma and no connecting words. This is known as a comma splice. A comma splice. Two complete sentences stuck together, separated by a comma. That's incorrect. It's bad grammar in English. So look out for comma splices in these types of questions in the GED RLA. They're very, very common, okay? So comma splice, keep that in mind. They come up all the time. Next one, hold on. Yes, heart insurance is really a mom and pop business, full stop. Started it 15 years ago. Well, who started it? Okay, there's no subject in here. We're missing a subject. We started it 15 years ago. My associate started it 15 years ago. Who started it 15 years ago? So this sentence is incomplete because started it 15 years ago is what's called a fragment, a sentence fragment. A sentence fragment is only part of a sentence. It's a sentence that maybe doesn't contain a subject, okay? What is a subject? A subject is like a person or a place or a thing, okay? A sentence fragment maybe misses the verb, the doing word as well. It could be that. Or maybe it misses the object of the sentence. It could be that as well. But here we're missing the subject, so it cannot be this one, okay? Wrong, and this one is wrong as well. Okay, next one. Heart insurance is really a mom and pop business, full stop. My wife and I started it 15 years ago. Well, this one looks good to me. Okay, we have a full stop at the end of the first sentence, and then we have a capital letter. My wife and I, two subjects, and then one verb, started it 15 years ago, full stop. That looks pretty good to me, but let's check the last one anyway, just in case. Heart insurance is really a mom and pop business. My wife and I started it 15 years ago. Okay, so this is important. Okay, so just make note here. Make note at the last one here. I'll put a little exclamation mark for you, just to show you it's important. And the first one here. These are two of the most common mistakes. Okay, the first one and the last one here. Two of the most common mistakes. As I said, the first one is a comma splice. Okay, let's call that a comma splice. Okay, comma splice. And we talked about what that is a few minutes ago. The second one, here we have a run-on sentence. Okay, this is a run-on sentence. Why is it a run-on sentence? Well, you can see that heart insurance is really a mom and pop business. Okay, there should be some kind of punctuation there if you are continuing with another sentence after it. So it should be a comma and then and. So for example, heart insurance is really a mom and pop business and, comma, and my wife and I started it 15 years ago. You could do that. But here, there's no punctuation. And then we have another full sentence. So you can see we have a full sentence here. Heart insurance is really a mom and pop business. And then we have my wife and I started it 15 years ago is another full sentence, another complete thought. But there's no punctuation in between the two complete thoughts. So this is why it's called a run-on sentence. Just runs on like that without even considering punctuation. So it's wrong as well. Now look out. I highlighted these. Whoops, let me get my red pen. I highlighted these two at the side because, I highlighted these two at the side, the comma splice and the run-on sentence, because these are two very, very, very common errors in this type of question on the RLA test, okay? So yeah, it's this one here. This is the correct answer here, okay, the third one. Let's move on down, okay, and you can see there's lots of text here. You probably wouldn't have time in the real test to read all this, but what I try to do in these types of questions is just go to the sentence before this one. So I'd go from here and just read, just so you have some kind of context and it doesn't seem kind of all overbearing, I suppose would be the right word. Let's see. We try to work with all our customers so they can find the best deals for... Okay, we try to work with all our customers so they can find the best deals for... Okay, so we try to work with our customers. We can see here, okay, plural, customers. Let me just underline the S. Okay, so yes, we try to work with all our customers so they can find the best deals for himself. No, it's not. That's singular and talking about a man, so it can't be that. Theirselves. Well, that's possessive, so no. Yourselves. No, we're talking about the customers here, so it must be themselves. Okay, so this is known as a reflexive pronoun. Okay, and it's directly related to the plural customers here. We try to work with all our customers so they can find the work themselves. Okay, moving on. Number 4. I'm enclosing other information for you about our services. Okay, select 4. Oh, we've got a full stop. Okay, capital letter here as well. So it has to be a complete sentence in here, complete thought. So let's see what they are. Okay, just make note of that. Okay, so comma here, sorry, full stop here, capital letter here. So it has to be a complete sentence, not a sentence fragment like we talked about before. Okay, so let's see what the options are. Operating in all 50 of the United States, we are. Well, this is a very weird sentence because here we have the subject at the very end, which is bizarre, very, very strange. So it's definitely not going to be that because it just does not read well at all. We, comma, operating in all of the 50 United States are, well, again, this is ridiculous. Punctuation here, a verb at the end of the sentence. Well, okay, that's definitely not that. Okay, I think if you go back in history when people spoke Latin and wrote the Latin language, I think verbs very often came at the end of the sentences, but not in English. It reads very strangely. We operate in all 50 of the United States. This looks good to me. Okay, we, subject, operate, verb, in all the 50 of the United States is our object. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Operating in all 50 of the United States, we are. Again, are we? So again, very strange kind of sentence structure here with the verb near the end, which is unusual. And it just sounds funny. Operating in all the 50 of the United States, are we? It's weird. It's not a question, so you can't have that. So it has to be this one here. We operate in all 50 of the United States. We'll take that. Okay, now number 5, which will be the last one of this video today, I think. Let's see what it says. Again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to beep. Okay, and again, notice that there's a capital letter here. So this must finish the sentence effectively. Again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to... Okay, so we have 2 here. Now remember, we said earlier in the video, if you have the word to in the middle of a sentence, if you have the word to in the middle of a sentence, just like this, it means the word after that must be the first form of a verb. Okay, so for example, do not hesitate to call, to eat, to see, to go. It can't be like, do not hesitate to eat. Do not hesitate to jumped. Do not hesitate. Do you know what I mean? It has to be the first form, almost like the present tense of the verb. So do not hesitate to call. It has to be call. Do we have call? Ah, you see? Okay, so after to, we have the infinitive, which will be call. So it can only be this one or this one. It can't be calling, because you cannot say to calling. That would not be the infinitive. So we'll get rid of that, and it can't be that either. So we're down to 2. Do not hesitate to call and asking us. Do not hesitate to call and ask us. Well, we can see to call, and we have and. Now, when you have and like this, in between 2 ideas, there has to be the same structure on each side of the and. This is called parallelism. Okay, your sentence has to be parallel or balanced. Okay, the structures have to be the same on both sides of the and. Now, again, let me just highlight this. I'll just call this P for parallelism. This is another really common question on the RLA, okay? So I said up here, comma splices, yes, many of these. You have to know what comma splices are, how to recognize them, and you also have to know that for run-on sentences as well. Also, equally important is parallelism. So you can see here, do not hesitate to call and asking. Well, to call and it has to be the same. It has to be to call and ask. It can't be to call and asking because this ing is not parallel. It's not balanced with what's going on the other side of the and here. So to call and ask us, that works, okay? Because to call and ask, they're both in the same form. Both call and ask are in the same form that follows to here, okay? So it has to be this one.